Okay, guys, welcome back to the show. And today I have my first ever Irish active wrestler, Mr. Scotty Davis. Thanks for being the first on the show. I've been trying to get a few
Uh,
Irish people on now for a few years, but they're very reluctant.
well, thanks for having me, man. Happy to be here. There's plenty of Irish talent out there. I'm sure we get the word around and we get a few more on for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So we met up on Friday night. I was running an event in town there, good all night, and rock bar, bit of crack, and we got chatting, and we chatted a few times of that now, and we said we'll make something like this happen. So look, really appreciate it, man.
No bother at all, man. I'm big for me rock nights. So one thing leads to another.
What kind of music are you into? Is the new metal down your road as well?
New metals. New metal's my shit. I love a good bit of new metal. Like new metal, like industrial metal, like all that sort of stuff. I've very kind of broad music taste, but if I had to, nail down two different genres, they'd be the ones.
Excellent. I love when a few wrestlers show up. Like I've seen you there a few times. Martina does be there, and whoever. It's always because my nights were
Yeah,
kind of born out of wrestling nights, but since WWE moved to Saturday night, it's a lot more difficult for a venue to give themselves up on a Saturday night, as you can understand.
yeah, 100%, man, 100%.
So, look, how did you decide that you wanted to be a wrestler?
Um, it wasn't much of a decision, really. It was very much just my whole life, like everything I kind of knew for as long as I can remember. Like when my first memories, like with my parents, was like just wrestling related. Now I don't have much memories with them, but the small ones that I do, it's like glimpses of like like SmackDown 2 being on the TV, and like up early on Saturday mornings to watch wrestling, um, and stuff like that. And at that point, like at that point, my brother was already started freestyle wrestling, and like my father got him into freestyle wrestling when he was 6. And then when I turned 6, my brother got me into freestyle wrestling, and like that was just thing. We love to do it. Like I even remember sneaking up to the wrestling gym when I was 5, and you know, like having my brothers and my sisters be like, "No, he's 6, he's 6, he's 6, he can come in." But yeah, like they knew, but still, like even that far back, it's always just been wanting to wrestle, and like even like my grandmother, she is like a massive wrestling fan. Like growing up, I like grew up with my grandmother, and she would stay up and watch all the pay per views with us. Like school in the
Yeah,
morning, but at 4 o'clock, 4 a.m. on a Sunday night, she'd be up screaming for John Cena. Like so she was kind of a super fan, like even into her 60s and 70s, and it's just that love kind of went down generations, and it's just it's captured all of us. Like even before first ever wrestling poster, I'm beside my sister in it. First ever time winning like the Irish Opens in freestyle wrestling. My brother was the one that coached me and was in my corner for it. So it's very much a family thing. There was never any thought in my head that I wasn't going to be a wrestler. Through any like struggles or anything like that have come since, had I been injured or upset about anything at all, not wrestling was never the solution. It was never an option really.
yeah. And most people, when I ask that question, they tell their parents, and their parents would be against it, or do you not want to do something else? But you were lucky
Yeah,
enough
yeah,
then to
yeah.
have that backing in your family, which is cool.
Ah, yeah, 100%. Like it's the posters are up everywhere in the house. Like even like it's now gotten to a point where I've like nephews and nieces, and they're like always wanting to come to me shows and see everything goes on. So it's now like passed down to another generation in the family. So like I'm more than happy to keep that passion going.
A lot of our viewers and listeners will be in America, and obviously independent wrestling is massive over there at the moment. But for a
Yeah,
country so small as ours, it's pretty fucking big here at the moment as well, isn't it? Do you want to kind of explain it for people that mightn't know?
yeah. So Irish wrestling kind of found its boom really 2014, I believe. OTT started, and before OTT, there was a few wrestling shows and promotions here and there. You're relatively small, not gaining any more than 200 people. But there was still a lot of passion, and there was still a lot of like wrestling going on. Like people were trying to like find that demographic that they were looking for, and be there promotions down south, in the east. There's a good few in the north. none of them really broke through. But then when you mix like the Dublin nightlife with professional wrestling, it was just this magic connection then that people who were, when we were deep in the PG era of WWE, there was people that were up with the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression era that were itching for a more edgy product. And then when that product came to their doorstep with like local characters and people they could relate to, as well as this wacky over the top fun that is professional wrestling. You mix those, then you mix it with alcohol and the crack that is Dublin on a Saturday night, and it was a beautiful kind of chaos that we were so lucky to be involved in and see something sprout from, and then from the success of that came success in other promotions, not just in Dublin but down in Cork and now in Limerick, and promotions up north are doing better and better as we go on, and it's just there was a niche that was found, but then it wasn't just the over 18 shows, because then OTT started running all ages shows, and then people that went to the over 18 shows wanted to bring their nephews and nieces and kids and stuff like that, and it was just there's a market now, where there wasn't a market 10 years ago, the 100% is now, and it's a bit crazy because people who started going to those shows as fans, a lot of them are wrestlers now. A lot of them are strong parts of the scene. And it's been a like crazy journey. I started wrestling a year before OTT started, so I'm lucky enough to see the whole growth of the scene as a whole, just go from like where it was to where it is now. It's a if you can get to another show, another wrestling show, do it.
Yeah, when I went to my first OTT show, I brought a fellow with me, a good friend of mine that doesn't watch wrestling. And during the match, then it was the Wards and it was the lads from the Flats, and
Yeah,
it was a thing with Foxy, remember, with the fake cocaine on the ring ropes
yeah,
and all
yeah,
that kind of stuff. And we went out of there, and my friend turned to me at the end and he goes, "That is the best tenner I've ever spent in my life."
yeah.
And he's not
Yeah,
even a wrestling fan.
yeah, no, that's what a lot of things. A lot of people that became big OTT fans were not wrestling fans to begin with, or they kind of were dragged to a show by a friend. And so many of them have stuck around, and there's so many stories that even people who are like wrestling now for OTT weren't necessarily wrestling fans before that, and now they're wrestlers. It's crazy, but it's you can go to a show and just be like captivated
Yeah,
with like that. It's bizarre. Like even for me, I done a show for Mainstage Wrestling in Coolock in 2016. Now I was 15 at the time, and I was growing in the scene. I was getting my name out there. I was putting on better and better matches. I was learning, and
yeah,
there was this guy came up to me like a kid at the time, and he was getting pictures with us and stuff backstage. And I remember he was like sending a friend request on Facebook, and I seen I was in his profile picture, and I was like, ah, that's a bit mad. Like a kill kind of mad. But yeah, a couple of years later, then I'm starting to see him like down in training and stuff, and like he's trying a different skill than me. But I say, no, I was like, I recognize that kid somewhere. And now he's wrestling the national stadium. He's all over England. He's doing seminars in Italy and stuff like that. And to me, it's kind of crazy because he's seeing me live. And he's like, oh, I was one of the same wrestlers, and now we're traveling together and stuff. It's crazy,
definitely.
but it's just one of these many Irish wrestling journeys that just hits home at me, anyways.
Yeah. Do you remember your first match, where it was and who was it against and how nervous were you?
Yeah, my first match was February of 2015. I was just turned 14 at the time, and I was fairly nervous, but I could have been more nervous because the people I was in there with was Luther Ward and Bouncer, and two
Yeah,
veterans of the game. They've been around,
two
very
big
long
guys as
time.
well.
Yeah, two big guys, and I was by no means like big when I was 14, so I was like right, there was a bit of nerves in that aspect, but yeah, it was a tag team match. Me and another guy that was fairly new. We were going in. It was like a 3-4 minute type of like squash. It was to set up the main. But yeah, first match on the card, and like it went very well. Like it went extremely well. Um, then it was Tony Orn. You know, Tony Orn. He's coming out and making the save at the end.
Yeah, yeah,
It
massive,
was a whole
massive man.
story. Yeah, stupidly big. Um, he makes a save, and even just to be a part of the story, like on a big story, but to be a part of the story in the first match, I was very much, like I was honoured. Really,
And he made the save, did he?
he didn't it.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank him for that from now until the end.
yeah, yeah. How much did I know, like, it's kind of a silly question in a way, but the COVID-19 pandemic, obviously, the way
Yeah,
this country was, shut everything down. How did you fill out your time during that time, like, and when wrestling was kind of taken away from you?
I had a very hard time initially. Lockdown hit because I had just come back from doing a tour of Germany, like the 16 Carnival weekend and stuff like that. And it was very much my life had just become wrestling, wrestling, wrestling. I was wrestling every weekend. I was traveling all over the place. There was very, very little room for anything else. And it was 2 weeks away from going to America to wrestle there, and a week away from wrestling in the stadium. So it was all, in my head when it initially was happening. I was like, this can't be happening. Something like this, they're not going to lock everything down. And obviously
Yeah,
it did, and it was extremely severe, and it ended up being extremely severe for so long. And it was a horrible time from it was a horrible time for most people, but pretty much everyone in the world. And you don't have wrestling at that point. It was my life, just wrestling. Me actually going and wrestling,
hmm
and it was just a shock to the system. It was like, right, what do I do now? I was in college at the time as well, but it was still compared to wrestling, it was an afterthought. And yeah, I was just kind of sat home, and it was like, thankfully, it was sunny when all this stuff happened. So I was doing workouts in the back garden. I was just eating, trying to get bigger. I was like, right, wrestling be back next month, be back the month after. I just didn't. I kept prolonging and prolonging and prolonging, and it was just frustration start growing, and they just start growing. And all I'm doing then is thinking about wrestling, but it wasn't necessarily a bad thing overall. Because I look at the time I spent through COVID as a time where I thought about wrestling the most, and through that was the time I was the most creative about wrestling. Like the whole time I'm thinking of, moves, sequences, stories, characters, just all of these different things. Like I've pretty much from the start of COVID to the end of COVID, I think who Scotty was changed completely. And you could see that if you look at the last match I had before COVID to the first one I had after. It was just I kind of figured out who it was I want to be in wrestling, and who it was I want to be as a person as well. Like it was life changing in many ways, and opened my eyes to a lot of things. And yeah, the scene, it's not the same after COVID, but it's getting there. Like there's glimmers of hope here and there, and it's getting better. But for me, I feel a lot kind of healthier, kind of creatively, physically. Like I was resting a whole lot, and I was like kind of like my body was quite broken down when COVID started. So a little bit of a break was needed, but I
yeah,
know where my head was at. I'm not gonna take a break from wrestling. It's the thing I love doing the most, and the thing that hurts me the most, but that's pales in comparison to the thrill you get from it. Pales in comparison to how much I love it. So yeah, I think that break, as horrible it was to go through, it was positive in the end because it brought out so much creativity in myself and others as well. Like after COVID, the amount of characters, like people that were wrestling before COVID, the amount of character they expressed after that break, it's
Yeah.
baffling. You look at it, even just like I'm like looking at the Irish scene as a whole, and I'm like, the talent that has come out of that break is insane. Like the young talent in Ireland at the moment, like it's baffling. Like there's so many people who you could be like, yeah, they could carry this country in the next 2 3 years. From people that just started like a month after training came back.
Yeah, and
So
I went to No Limit Wrestling there last week with the young fella
yeah,
as I was telling you, and it was absolutely brilliant, man. The standard of wrestling, like from newer guys I haven't seen before, and some of the old experienced heads like Maxer and so on in there as well. Brilliant show.
yeah, absolutely, and it's just one of the things where it's like there's some great coaches now, and it's very much people got to live life without wrestling, and they didn't like it. So now they're so much more appreciative of wrestling, that it's shown. It really is shown in the product that's being put out there now.
I think a lot of the problem is that there's a big reservation on people to get back into kind of packed rooms and things like that. I think that's kind of half the
Yeah,
battle when it comes to it's the same with anything with concerts and stuff like that. There's a lot of people that I know that haven't been to big concerts or anything like that because this
yeah,
COVID thing
yeah,
kind of fucking scared them, I guess. You know?
yeah, and like rightly so. Like it's like anybody could have like someone at risk at home and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
know I've come home and I've kind of felt guilty and stuff. After like being at a show and I see someone at home is sick, I'm like, shit, is it my fault? Like
Mm.
there's a risk there, 100%, and I think there's always gonna be, but yeah, like it's from what we were 2 years ago to where we are now. It's like there's insane progress. Like not just like in like the standard wrestling, but I mean, and like you know, people coming to the shows and like being able to like being comfortable, like people being comfortable at wrestling shows now. Like
Yeah.
that comfort is skyrocketing in comparison to what it was.
Yeah. Talk to me about wrestling one of your idols, Rob Van Dam. We had a little discussion about it the other night, but I love what you were saying. Like, so just talk me through that and when you guys met up and to plan your match and whatever.
Yeah, so it was like even just thinking about it now, it's still a bit hard to believe. Like Rob Van Dam was always like he was always an idol of mine, like growing up, because for me, like pro wrestling, like its creativity is its core. There's no pro wrestling without creativity, and he was someone who always preached creativity. He was someone who I kind of like he inspired me in how unique he was. And how you could see a move and you'd be like, it's a Rob Van Dam move. You could see
Mhm.
movement and you'd be like, hey, moving like Rob Van Dam. Like he was just like he was an innovator in so many ways. And I remember like growing up, like playing wrestling games, I'd be picking Rob Van Dam. Is
The move set.
yeah, like everything. He just man, he was always the coolest person to me growing up. And then a lot of people say like don't meet your idol and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
met him and he was the coolest motherfucker I ever met. Like it was a pleasure from start to finish. Um, we we initially met. I shook his hand, told me and him and stuff, and he seemed excited. But like when I seen him walking in, I seen there was like a bit of a limp, and like it's kind of like he was doing the wrestler's walk as we call it. It's like what you see like guys that have
Years
been
on the
wrestling over
road.
20 years. Yeah, like the hips don't really move the way like regular. They like limp a little bit, and
Mm.
I seen him walking in, and I was like, shit, maybe he doesn't have it anymore. Maybe this isn't the Rob Van Dam I grew up watching. And the moment where all of that escaped my mind was when we were talking about the match. And he was talking about like the type of stuff that I do. And he was asking like what kind, and I was saying like I have a base in kickboxing, my primary function in wrestling is like true freestyle wrestling. These are all the things that I'm influenced by, and we were discussing that, and he was like, "Oh, so you do like spin kicks and stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah," and I showed him like the kicks that I do. And he was like, "Oh well." that one would be work really well if I done this. And like he just like took a step back and jumped up in the air and done this fucking impeccable fucking jumping spinning kick. And I was like, oh, at that moment I was like, fuck, that's Rob Van Dam. I was like,
Yeah,
that's Rob Van
yeah,
Dam. I'm
yeah,
actually wrestling Rob Van Dam. And we were talking more about it, and he was getting excited about like ideas that I was having. And he was like, yeah, yeah. And then he was like, I could try that. And then maybe if, and like, it was, we were like just going back and forth creatively. And that was like, that was a dream come true then. And he was saying shit like, yeah, I'd love to do this. And he was like, fuck it, I'll try it and see if my body, if my body allows it. And
yeah.
just stuff like that. I went out and obviously the stadium was fucking packed out. And I'm standing there, face to face at the idol. And, the crowd is like Scotty Davis, Rob Van Dam. And there's these dueling chants.
Mm.
And we're circling each other, ready to lock up. And he turns and he goes, yo, these guys love you. And I'm just there, like, fuck. Like,
No
I,
pressure.
I, I was getting fucking emotional. Like, I'm there in the National Stadium, fucking all the pressure in the world on me. And, I'm getting emotional, just ready to lock up with my hair up. But yeah, once we locked up, it just, he was fucking moving like he was in 2000.
Yeah,
And, we just gelled. Everything worked well. And, couldn't have went couldn't have went any better. Like it was actually my first time using weapons in like 5 years of OTT, and something I've wanted to do for a long time. But
yeah,
that was that was my introduction to it, and
yeah.
who better to introduce me to it than an ECW original. But
Absolutely.
yeah, man, it was great. I was so happy with the match, just so happy with how cool he was as a person. And afterwards, he was happy, like real happy about it. We sat down and we just, talked wrestling for like half an hour. It's so cool, man.
Yeah. Talk to me about creative freedom because there seems to be a bit of that, and I'm not asking for in detail in whatever companies, but
Yeah,
in Ireland in general, you get a certain amount that you guys get to plan your matches and stuff.
yeah. Like we'll plan our matches. Like I'll always try to be, as creative as I can when I'm planning my matches. There's some moves and stuff I've been told, not to do. Uh, I'm like, okay, whatever. It's like I'm going to do a
Too
job,
too
and
dan- too dangerous, is it?
yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
in case it goes wrong,
Yeah.
which really to never does. But just in case, and I understand the precaution, we're putting our bodies on the line here. If there is a mistake, it falls back on all of us. But yeah, there's a little bit of that, but not much. I've been quite like creatively free in regards to like moves and stuff that I do. Always have been, but for me, I've always wanted to be well, especially after COVID, because like I was saying, I was thinking so much about wrestling creatively.
Yeah.
I had these ideas for like there was one character in particular, and there was a development that I wanted to do, and became a bit frustrated after COVID then because I wanted to build Scotty Davis into something more than he was, and I was trying to push this on shows, and I was people were noticing the change. Then I was being told, oh, "Don't change." I was like, "But I want to change," and it's like, "No, it works this way," and then it didn't work that way, and then it was just there was button heads and creatively, and I'm like, "Let me try
What
this
was the
one thing."
what was the biggest change?
Well, like there was mainly like I I shot up in like the aggression that I showed after COVID. It was like 'cause I'm trying to push. I was trying to push to a new character, like evolve really,
Yeah.
and I was putting the aggression up, the aggression up, the aggression up, and it was becoming what I want to be in the ring, and outside of the ring, I was getting there. I was like, let me do it. Let me do a little storyline with someone now, so we can bounce off of each other, and I can establish his character through promos, and like I wanted to speak. I wanted to speak for a long time, but it's like a lot of it is like you're the wrestler, wrestle, but I can be more than that. and that's something I've been preaching for the past while, is that like I'm more than just the wrestler,
That's something
like
that actually annoys me sometimes with the big products these days, like WWE. I don't think there's enough emphasis on people's characters. It's fine, lads
yeah,
going out and having 5-star and 4-star matches and everything, but there's more to it than that.
characters make stories and stories make pro wrestling. Like the wrestling is a tool, and like it's a tool I can use very well, but it's let me do more, and I've always I'm pushing to do more everywhere. Like there's a place that there's a new promotion that has opened up in Limerick there recently enough,
And
and
funny enough, before you continue, I have it right here. I have a little trailer for the next show.
brilliant.
Yeah. So I don't think there's any sound on this, but this is going to be your next match here.
Yeah, that is down in Limerick City for Hard Knox Wrestling, and I just want to touch on what like Hard Knocks means to me now from wrestling there. Like there was one show, and it went like incredibly well. But for me, it went incredibly well the second I walked in the door, like before the ring was even up. It was just whole day was full of young talent, all getting along very well, all just talking about what they want to do and how they want to do it. They're bouncing off each other. Where like there was a point in the day where there was, I'd say, 10, 15 of us all like wrestling on the show. 10, 15 of us stretching in the ring, just having a laugh. Like 10, 15 young talents from different backgrounds, different training skills, different parts of life, and it's all kind of led us to be in that ring at that time, and everyone was just having a crack, like loving it, and that kept on then throughout the day. And when the show started, it was it was it was rock, it was rock and roll. Like it was there was metal being blurred, and like it was like for me is wrestling is rock and roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what this was. It felt like this just new energy, and there was so much passion from everybody that was in that building that day. There was nobody phoning it in. There wasn't a bit of laziness. It was just passion pouring out of everyone, and the show itself then just went so well. Like I was fortunate enough to wrestle Martin Steers. He was like one of the newer talents in Ireland, and he's incredible. He's someone who was always being a great wrestler, but after COVID got to show that bit of character, and it's just took him from here all the way up, and he's he deserves every bit of success he's getting. Hence why I'm excited to wrestle him again next month in Limerick. Him and Keane Noonan, who's someone who was a fan before COVID, started training then just after just after restrictions were lifted. Incredible,
Yeah.
incredible, insanely athletic. In great shape, like very good attitude. It's just, it's fucking great to see, man. And I have these two passionate young lads, and we get to be creative again, and we get to put our ideas together and put on a show. And the crowd down there are phenomenal. Like if you can get down to Limerick for this show,
Yeah.
it's reminiscent of early Tivoli days where it's just just a ruckus crowd. A lot of them of which have never been to a wrestling show before, so it's just authentic
Oh, brilliant.
reactions. Like it's an authenticity I haven't felt in a long time for wrestling, and it's special. It really is special. I'd highly recommend getting out to Limerick for one of these shows.
And these are all over 18 shows as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, these are over 18 shows. Hence why I was saying like reminiscent of early Tivoli
Hmm.
days. Like
Yeah.
it's just there's an energy to it. I can't even put it into words, man. It's good shit.
It's Vince McMahon. It's good shit.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? So is that going to be kind of your primary focus now, Hard Knocks in Ireland for the next while, or what have
Um
you got coming up? With that?
Not necessarily. It's something I have a lot of passion for, and it's something I'll push to, succeed. I want to see that do as well as I can. Excuse me. But I have some plans coming up now over the next few months. I have some exciting things going on abroad. I can't go into detail about it right now, but I need everything to be as set in stone as possible before I can, go around saying this is what's going on. But there's big things going on, and I'm very excited. Like it's coming into this year, it's the most excited I've been for wrestling, like, like probably ever. And it's just there's big plans. It was just like in order, like something like the like Hard Knocks, like it's that excites me so much. But like that's for the scene, like that excites me because it's growth for the scene and it's something new and exciting. But like for myself, I have some stuff going on elsewhere that I'm looking forward to showing people. Like I'm looking forward to spreading the news about such, which
Yeah.
I will soon.
Yeah. So you're looking at the benchmark over here. I was only like thinking about it earlier for people that are not familiar with over here, like Conor McGregor, Katie Taylor, Becky
Yeah,
Lynch, Jordan Devlin, Finn Balor, like those five alone, like from a small little island like there, from like here, like is that kind of what you're setting? Are you setting yourself for the top? Like
yeah.
that's your goal to get to
I
that
always
level.
have been. I always have been, and like physically and like in the ring, I feel like I'm there. I just need to go and express that in the right places. I need to go and show what I can do, and get that out there as best I can. Because I have all these thoughts. I have so much like creativity built up, and you know, it's like too much to put out at once. So it's a gradual thing, but I feel like we can get there. I feel like we can 100% get there. Like I've never had any doubt that the end goal is to be right up there with those.
Yeah, I think you're looking very giddy there. You're definitely sitting on a few secrets. Someone, well, I have to
Oh
get you
yeah,
back on again when you can tell us them.
yeah. No, like I said, it's a very exciting time for me, and I'm like grateful. Yeah, I'm grateful for like the
Yeah,
journey I've had so far and what I have coming up.
yeah. Listen, man, it was a pleasure to catch up with you today. Just before you go, where's the best place to find you on social media, etc.?
And find me on my Instagram. It's ScottyD353. You can find me on Twitter at SuperLikeScotty. I have a website for merchandise as well. It's scottydavis.bigcartel.com. You can find me there, or just go and look for a wrestling poster in your local town. I'll tell you'll find me on that. So see you wherever that leads you.
Yeah, so man, absolute pleasure to have you on today. And look, we'll
Thanks
catch
very
up
much,
again
man.
when you can let the stuff out of the bag.
100%, man. 100%.